onto this computer. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, you could see that my computer is not my best friend today. Okay, you see the screen? Yes,
Yes.
Mayan quiz. Okay, and again, quizzes aren't my thing. And if there are questions that aren't fair, let me know and we'll decide. Okay, first question. Which of the following are used to learn about Mayans today? First of all, the apostrophe is in the wrong place, but what else? Which of the following are used?
Head shape.
First and the second one?
What?
The
Somebody,
first one?
are written records used?
Yes.
Good.
And
Are Mayans that are alive today used?
Yes.
yes.
Are earthquake analysis used? No.
Yeah, that's the only one, right? That's
Yeah.
not right.
Well, that one and all the above. So it's existing sites, Mayans, living today, and written records. Here I forgot the word, the ly on directly. How did building of the pyramids directly lead to deforestation?
Didn't they need like an astronomical amount of trees just to get one brick of limestone? So every time they would rebuild the pyramid, they were just cutting down.
That's exactly it. It wasn't to clear the land, which they did also, but to get, they had to burn 20 trees for every square meter of limestone. And when you keep doing that, Mayan cities all collapsed at the same time as a result of a long drought. True or false?
Oh,
Yeah, false. They collapsed periodically. The Mayans, while periodically destroyed a temple devoted to a specific deity, would still worship that deity. True or false?
true.
Yeah. Now, again, on that one, this is important. They would destroy the pyramids because of the rulers having lost their contact with the deity rather than the deity itself. Which of the following is not evidence of an elite status? And it's burying under the family home. Mayan warfare was primarily directed at eliminating rival cities. True or
Oh,
false? False, yeah. Okay, any questions?
No.
Yeah, piece of cake. That was my early Hanukkah gift for all of you. Okay, do I want to leave the site? No, I don't. I want to shut down this. Leave site. Okay, do you see the cenote picture on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually my favorite site, and partly because it's small, and so you could really get a sense of a whole site. This is one of their cenotes where they threw in the dead. That they have certain species of fish that aren't found anyplace else. It was once a wealthy port, even though it's not quite on the ports, because it had a peak population of 20,000. Although when Chichen Itza rose, it declined. And the restoration still continues here. This again is the cenote. As with Chichen Itza, there are bodies in there. Now, what do you see here on the screen? What is this? What's it look like?
it looks like the stage.
That's interesting. It could look like the stage. What's this up here? Or just help me out here. Does it look a little bit, Gabby, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say it kind of looks like a chimney on the side.
Okay. How about a steeple? When the Spanish came, they tore down the pyramids and used the same stones to build their own church. And this is a Franciscan church, and it's right on the site now. And that's very similar to what the Mayans did. And again, when we talk about the mixing of the Mayan deities with the Spanish, it's the same site. A roadway leading from the Temple of the Seven Dolls connects to the Central Plaza and the arch, and this is called the chapel now. See these 7 dolls? Okay. These were built at what is sometimes called the Temple of the Dwarf, which is this one. Now, each of these windows is oriented not towards the sun, but towards the moon. Now, remember that it's a port, not a, so it was relying much more on the moon, which is the sea. There are, in this small site, 8,000 buildings within a 10-mile square area yet to be evacuated. And they've stopped evacuating because why would they stop evacuating excavating the sites? What happens when you're exposed to sunlight? Not us, but the paint would fade and there'd be decay. And it's very, very humid again now. So they want to be very, very careful about preserving it. Now, this is just straight east to west because of their location. Twice a year, the equinox does shine through the Temple of the Seven Dolls, again, showing how they do the arc. So this is what it looks like twice a year. Isn't that amazing? And look how precise it is. And at other times of the year, it is the moon that comes through. This is it with a trip a few years ago. Does anybody know him? You should know Ryan. Does anybody know Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan was my RA at one point.
I just spoke to him yesterday, coincidentally. Okay. Aha, this is Uxmal. What do you notice that's different about this pyramid?
It has a smooth exterior.
Smooth exterior, and what else?
No stairs.
No stairs. Well, there are stairs, but there, and we're not allowed to climb up them. Look at the shape, how it's rounded rather than squared off. How many of you have trouble getting your homework done on time for this class or other classes? Okay, well, a magician built this temple overnight. So I don't want to hear complaints from you. If a magician could do this by him or herself, all work could be done on time. Now, it was founded later than most Mayan cities, yet it's in the Western Yucatan, and for a while it had a trade alliance. And again, let me stress trade, not military, with Chichen Itza, who we discussed yesterday. And it was dominant, but just for a few years. The rounded base, Temple of the Magician. You see Jewel. Where's Jewel?
Here.
Yeah. And you see, who else do you see? Nobody else in these classes. You see Dr. McLaughlin? He's the less cute professor. You see Mrs. McLaughlin and you see Mrs. Me. Okay. This is just an amazing place. After 1200, again, no new major constructions. So again, it seemed to stop building at the same time they did in Chichen Itza. Now remember, Chichen Itza stopped and then it began again. And same with Uxmal. But then new sites in Mayapan were coming afterwards. And again, this is really important that as they did Ecocide, and please go back if you haven't and look at those earlier slides at the many reasons for Ecocide. they would just move to another place, not overnight, but within about a 40 or 50-year time. People would still remain in the area as farmers, but not as a power base or a religious center. Next site I want to show you is Cuba. Very, very small in many senses, but some very important temples. I almost said synagogues. That would have been bad. That would have been ethnocentric. Older, there were buildings of wood and palm. The only architecture evidence at the time were fragments of pottery. And remember, pottery is a big thing. Huge population growth. And because it's very close to the ocean, its status grew again. And dominated a farmland, control over trading routes, and critically for Mayan city, control of the water resources.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Why are the artisans above the military?
because nothing would work unless they were in direct contact with the gods. And also, that's a great point. That's one reason. A second reason is it wasn't a full-time military. They would only use them at different times because they were doing other things, mostly farming themselves. And the military was there, except for Tulum, which we're going to look at in a minute. None of these cities had walls because there weren't external threats. So when they used the military, they would gather them for short campaigns to maybe go get sacrificial people from other cities, maybe to say these are our trade routes, not yours. But there was really not an important status. Now, it had a huge population, 50,000 at first, and major construction then. This is myself with some students from a couple years ago when we decided to join a biker gang. Don't I look like I could be in Hell's Angels?
Is that an eye patch?
Yeah, it was for effect only. And the guy, Jason, the guy with the Yankee hat, we sacrificed because we hate Yankee fans. No offense. Okay, Cobra had the on the stelas, you could see writings with it that they had contact with Tikal. But this is also important. Some of the architecture looks like Teotihuacan, which would attest to existing contacts with central Mexico. Also, they had female leaders. Again, why would that be more likely in a place like this than Chichen Itza, for example? The ocean and the agriculture. Again, it began to lose its dominance with Chichen Itza, but it was a religious center. And by the time the Spanish got there, as a city, it was abandoned at the time the Spanish conquered the peninsula. Now, one thing I want to say is the Spanish were thrown out after they came in twice. Next is Tulum. What do you think the blue represents?
Water.
Yeah, it's right on the ocean. One of the last cities built by the Mayans, means the city of dawn because it faces the sun rise. It also means fence or trench. Walls around the site allow to be defended against invasions, both from the sea and from the land. It was a trade hub. Also, the descending god meaning that when the sun went down, the moon came up. It's right on the coast. Whoops, Tulum. How did that happen? It's right on the coast. More ruins. Now look at this. Its height was much after all the other Mayan cities. When the Spanish came, it still remained as a power for 70 years. But old world diseases brought by the Spanish seemed to have resulted in high fatalities and eventually causing the city to be abandoned. And Jewel, you were there. Was it abandoned?
Yeah.
Kind of, but people lived all around it. And much more is known about this because there is European contact. Now, they say it's one of the best preserved sites, but also it's one of the most recent. So duh. This is an artist's depiction of what it might have looked like. Again, built as the rest of the Mayans were declining. Again, rare as a walled city. And this is the point I've been trying to make. There is no Mayan. There are several separate Mayan cities. Trading more than a religious city. Their interior walkway was, which spears and rocks were thrown. Descending God reflecting, oh yeah, big alternative for bees and honey, or for the diving seabirds. I go for the latter. Place where the sun came up. Okay, because it's so recent, you can see more of the frescoes. Now, what does this fresco tell us? A man with a horse. Did the Mayans have horses?
No. So, well, obviously some of them did.
Yeah, but only after the Spanish came.
Yeah, I remember you saying there were no horses before the Spanish came. So when they had the celebrations, they walked.
Yeah, and they didn't have draft animals. But remember, they had a little bit of time to exist after the Spanish came. And so they, as we saw with the saints, they incorporated the horses, which were clearly only there after the Spanish, into their artwork. Or perhaps it was just graffiti. You know, we do graffiti, why wouldn't they? Again, more examples of what it looked like. Used as a watchtower. They would land their canoes. They went pretty far in canoes. This is the temple of the descending gods. And in it, this is not a great photo because I took it, but you see the wing god is upside down. So they think it's either a bird or again, a bee. The figure is sometimes referred to, I'm just repeating myself now, just like I do at home. And I just want to show you one other site, then I want to talk about some other stuff. 3 rooms with panels. See the panels there? And the first room is birth and acceptance of the throne. Why is that not birthing for me? Second room is battle scene presenting or pure captives that would be purified. You can see that, right? The person kneeling is about to be lunch. A third room reflects their highest god. Now, this is something that people miss. We're going to talk more about the Spanish conquest, both when we talk about the Aztec and the Inca. And the Mayans are still here, and they're very resilient. Population is 6 million. Oops. Their language, as we've talked about, is widespread. Their religion is very widespread. And their education, this is so cool now. In the schools, Mayan is now taught, which it wasn't the first times I started going there in 1972. And Jewel, I think all our gods were Mayan, all our guides who I made into gods were Mayans, right?
Yeah.
When I first went there, they were all from Europe. Then they were all Mexicans from Mexico City. But they've kind of taken that over. And the children now learn Mayan first.
I thought it was cool that they had translators who were Mayan, but they also spoke German for like tourists.
Yeah. It's interesting. In other countries now, English is not the language being spoken to taught to the tour guides. In Ecuador, for example, is Japanese. Here is German. Germans were some of the first ones there. So this is, a kind of an interesting modern Mayan family. What do you see in this photograph?
A Dora t-shirt.
Yeah, Dora the Explorer is everywhere. And you see a mixture of traditional and modern clothing, which is what all cultures are. This is a modern Mayan market, but in there you see a tourist or two. Where'd my tourist go? There. And you can see some big carrots. You also see what I love is Mayan political activism today. And they're extremely active, and they made some great gains for semi-autonomy. Now, stop screen sharing. Hello, everybody. Let me switch my view. Okay, Monday I'm gonna do you want an assignment? Nah. Monday I'm gonna give a review for the midterm. And after the midterm, this is on me, not you. I'm not happy with the class, but because of the way I'm doing it. And it's just not interactive enough. So after next week, I'm going to be, when we start with the Aztecs, people are going to get assignments for presentations. I think it'll work much better, okay? And again, that's not a criticism of you. It's a critique of me, myself, and I. Okay?
Okay.
Peace out.
I have a question. Don't hang up.
Okay, question online. Oh, and I want to talk to Jewel afterwards too. But go ahead.
Okay, it's just it's about my schedule, but when
What?
I can't find like 2 of the classes for the summer to register for.
Which two?
The intro to nonviolence and the civil rights movements in America.